Hello, everybody. The astute of you that are watching on video will have noticed that for the first time ever, I have a microphone in front of me. Hello, 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 and green screen behind me. Now, the reason for this is because it is absolutely freezing outside. So this is not going to be a generalized trend. It's just that I ain't gonna stand outside in the snow and theorize and pontificate as my feet just kind of freeze to the spot. So we're going to talk today about people pleasing. The reason for this is because it came up in a client session recently, and I thought I would kind of give you a couple of tools that might help if you're also kind of suffering from this phenomena of people pleasing. So in the particular client example, the base was a sense of dissatisfaction with the self. Okay. There are parts of me that are unapprovable, that are faulty. And therefore, the client was chasing a sense of approval outside of himself to kind of make it all feel better. Okay. Now, that may resonate with you, or your story may be slightly different. But I think the reason why we would wish to people please intrinsically is to divert attention away from our own flaws about which we feel pretty bad, and replace that with a sense of approval which is coming from somewhere outside of us, okay, from somebody else's approval, in order that we'll feel good ourselves. So basically, we're handing over our personal ability to choose our emotional state, handing it to somebody else, trying to be nice to them in the hope that they will appreciate it. They won't realize that we're playing a game and will genuinely appreciate it and be nice back. And we can forget about all of our flaws and be a member of the human race. That typically is kind of what's going on. So there is a sort of a shame-based story in the background, which supports the necessity for people pleasing, let's say. But here's the thing, okay? So you're handing away the keys to your emotional security to somebody else, and then you are trying to manipulate them by some method or other so that they will like you, so that they will see the nice side of you and not the faulty side of you, so that you can then pretend based upon their feedback that you're nice. So the whole thing is a massive game. And worse than that, when it works, it doesn't work. It can't work because if you get approval from somebody else whilst playing this game of what it is that you think they want, well, then you're getting approval for the wrong stuff. You're getting it for the painted mask rather than the reality. So when you get the approval, it still doesn't feel like you. When you don't get the approval, you've put a lot of effort into it and it hasn't got anywhere. And either of those that occurs, you end up either deluding yourself to the reality of the situation or feeling a massive lack of security inside of yourself based around the fact that your emotions are being rocked and diverted and directed by someone outside of you. So what I wanted to show you was quite a few, hopefully, different ways of understanding that, from a rational perspective, somebody else is going to do what they're going to do. They're going to like you or not like you based upon criteria which you have no control over. But that in handing over that gift of your emotional stability to somebody else, you're actually making yourself more vulnerable, not less vulnerable. And the way to feel more secure is by understanding the mechanisms by which you can emotionally regulate yourself. You can choose your perceptions, okay? You can't choose what's going to occur outside of you. That's going to be whatever it's going to be. But you can choose your response if, rather than reacting, you give yourself a moment and you center your emotions. So there's almost no point in talking about that intellectually, rationally, okay? Because it's an unwinnable war. There's no way to rationalize something that's going on at the back of your mind, in your gut, rather than at the front of your mind. By the time you become consciously aware of these feelings of rejection or disappointment or whatever it may be, it's already there. It's already embodied in your body. So for me, there's very little point in analyzing that from a conscious perspective. Far better to experience ways of manipulating your own emotions, manhandling your own emotions, choosing your own emotions. Now, obviously, that's going to occur within the sort of boundaries of what you think is reasonable, what you think is fair for you. But still, it's a million miles better than doing something in response to the other person who's going to do whatever they're going to do. So what I thought I would show you is one of, if not my favorite hypnotic technique. And this is dead easy, dead easy. And the good thing about this one is that it doesn't even rely upon this kind of absurd relaxation protocol. Okay. Because if you're feeling wired, if you're feeling het up, well, that's not the moment to be, taking deep breaths in and breathing and relaxing and going la di da di da, because you're in a state. So this one I find really universally applicable. So that's why I thought it might be of interest to you. I feel kind of official with this microphone here. So obviously, hazard warning first. Do not follow these instructions whilst driving, whilst operating machinery. Only do so when it is safe and completely appropriate to do so. Find yourself a place where you'll be reasonably self-assured that you won't get disturbed for the next 15, 20 minutes. Okay. And let's see where we go with this. The only thing that you need to do is follow my instructions. Have an open mind. Okay. Have a sense of curiosity and see where it ends up. Right. Because it tends to end up somewhere different from the prior time that you've experienced anything similar to this anyway. So there's no point in bringing too much expectation and judgment to it. If you wish to, imagine that you're going to go to the most amazing, beautiful, ecstatic sense of inner peace, if that pleases you, but that's not necessary. Okay, so with that in mind, it's better that you're sat up. You can even do this stood up. Um, it doesn't really work when you're laying down, though. So I would sit up. And what I'd like you to do is just basically point your two index fingers, your first fingers, but not the way I'm pointing them. Point them forward, about sort of, what's that? That's about 10 centimeters apart, about kind of, that's probably about 4 inches apart, I guess, something like that. I don't really work in inches. And just kind of put them, around your waist, sort of at waist level, above your lap, but they're just kind of pointing like that. Yeah. And as you observe not one, but both fingers, the way to do that, or the way that I do that, is to kind of put my attention somewhere in between the two fingers and then kind of widen my peripheral vision so that I can see both fingers at the same time. And if you're like me, you can already start to feel a sensation of sort of pushing at the tip of the fingers. You might feel the sort of level of pressure that you might expect to have if you were going to press a light switch on a wall. So there's a sense of extension in the two fingers. The hand can be generally relaxed. You don't need to clench your fists at all. You can loosen the other fingers if they feel at all tight, but just keep those two fingers pointing out. And maybe by now you can observe the temperature of the fingers. As you keep your gaze on both fingers, you can notice the temperature of the fingers. Maybe you can notice your pulse in the fingertips. Maybe not only become aware of the fingers, but become aware of the space around the fingers. And maybe even the difference between the temperature of the finger and the temperature of the air that surrounds it. And as you bring your attention to those fingers and to the sound and the words of my voice, perhaps you can already notice that your body has become still and your breathing has become still. And you can notice the tips of your fingers as if they were pressing on one of those light switches on a wall. And maybe the support of the chair or the bed or the cushion. And maybe the texture of the clothing that's surrounding you. And the rise and fall of your chest. Breathing can be very, very light to the point where you can't really hear the breath. And you can start to notice the space between my words and the space between your thoughts. As those fingers just kind of hover there. There's a lovely sense of stillness of the body. And when you're ready, in your own time, the only thing I want you to do is direct your attention from the fingertips to about 2 centimeters in front of each finger, keeping your gaze in between and your peripheral vision, noticing the space in front of those fingers. And just how good that feels. Sense of complete calm. Perhaps those eyelids want to close. Very heavy eyelids. Noticing the space in between each thought. Maybe noticing no thought. And with every breath that you exhale, just allowing that sensation of stillness to solidify. Because in this state, you have all the control you need, all the strength, all the power, and all the choices. Because we're just here for a moment, and any thoughts that might come and go, you can just park for the next few minutes, so that just here and now, in this moment, you can pay attention to yourself, the quietness in your mind, to the stillness in your body. And maybe you can even notice your body becoming a little warmer. And there's a little dampness around the eyes, tendency to swallow, eyelids flickering, maybe fingers just wanting to drop down to your lap, sending you deeper. In a state of complete calm. Because you can choose how you feel. You can observe how you feel. You can imagine in the silence where you are, just following my voice, following your breath, following the gentle rise and fall of your chest, following the pulse, noticing your body, noticing how still you have become, that you can choose a feeling. Choose a feeling that you would love to experience here and now, just for a moment. Perhaps you can remember a time when you felt just like that now. You can see yourself there, you can see your posture, you can see the way your facial expression is. You can see how you're acting, how you're interacting, the feeling in your chest, the feeling in your stomach. And maybe you can see yourself, or you can get a sense of yourself, or you can feel the way that your body was positioned. Is it daytime or nighttime? Who was around you? Who were you interacting with? Building the scene in your imagination and the feelings inside. Imagining that feeling like a small ball of energy. And you can search for that energy inside of your body. Identify where that feeling is strongest and allow that feeling to expand and grow and flood the whole of your body until it's almost like an orb of energy, a beautiful surrounding, glowing orb of energy filled with that emotion, because you have all the choice. And the body can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined emotion and whatever you want to call reality. And so you can trust your own sense of self, your own sense of being, your own sense of awareness, your own sense of inner beauty, your own sense of your own personal power. And as you let a breath just exhale from your body, any tension can be released. And you can replace that with a wonderful sense of gratitude, thankfulness for this experience, just for this moment, just for you. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes, have a look at your fingers, shake off that sensation if need be. And just evaluate what went on. If you need to, have a good stretch, take in a few deep breaths. But what I want you to do is to notice what you did just by following along with those suggestions. Your body was still, was calm, maybe even a little warm. You became aware of things that normally you don't pay attention to. You were able to control your physiology just with the power of your imagination. So why would you ever want to hand that over to someone else? It's great to interact with other people. It's fantastic. You can bounce ideas off each other. You can generate sensations and feelings and thoughts that you can't do on your own. So it's a fantastic thing. But that's not the same as handing over your emotional stability to someone else's sense of approval. When you become comfortable with being what you are, the people that like that will find you. They'll find you. When you're people pleasing, I mean, I'm sure most people know this when they receive a people pleaser. You feel icky. You don't know how to trust the messages that you are receiving. And so you tend to blank them out. So one of the routes to authenticity, one of the routes to sort of a sense of internal stable credibility is by knowing that whenever you choose to do so, you can shift your emotional state. I've talked on another video about how you can actually take that imaginary visualized experience one step further and literally embody your physiology from a time that you wanted to replicate the emotion. You can adopt the posture. Do that for a couple of minutes. It's almost inevitable that the feeling is going to come with the posture. You can also, there's lots of ways you can do this. If you're a visual person, you can imagine yourself in a previous time with this emotion that you wanted on a screen. You can turn up the color on the screen. You can turn the volume up on the screen. You can stretch the screen. You can actually pull the screen up above you and drag it across you and down so that your whole body is filled with it. Similarly, if there's an emotion that you want to get rid of, it's not the moment that you need to deal with stuff and something is bothering you. You can also, if you're visual, you can put that onto a screen, shrink it down to the size of a postage stamp, or turn all the color away, drain the color away so it's black and white, make it so tiny it's this big, and then just flick it off. There's lots and lots of ways that we can use the representations that we bring to a situation for our benefit. So that we feel more in control. Yeah. I've said a few times before, the way to feel truly in control is by releasing your grip on control. Now, the only way that anyone would sensibly be prepared to release their grip on control is when they know that they can choose to regain it whenever they want to do so. And this is a technique that shows you you can regain your sense of control when you choose to. So therefore, the rest of the time you can relax, you can be you. When I discovered this technique, it kind of blew me away because it put roots from my feet down into the ground. I suddenly felt incredibly stable, incredibly at ease with my own emotional variability. Yeah. So suddenly you also feel more composed at the idea of what comes up can come up. You can explore yourself because you know that you've got that level of control. Should you need it, should something come up which is so upsetting or so distressing or uncontrollable or uncomfortable in the moment, you've got a few tools to stabilize yourself. And practice makes perfect for this. So really, if you want, get used to this. There's another way that I talk about it where I say if you can just focus on the space between your eyes. I love this idea of focusing on the gap between my words, the gap between your thoughts. Intrinsically, when you're focusing on the space beyond your fingertips, you're kind of focusing on nothing and kind of focusing on everything. And for me personally, that's just incredibly comforting. I don't know if you watch the video with your eyes open, you'll see that what I led you to do, I did myself. That's one of the ways of sympathetically reverberating with someone, even when you're doing a session through Zoom. It's the most extraordinary thing to experience that transmission of energies between two people, even over a webcam. So I hope that's of interest. Give it a try, give it a practice, and keep on practicing, and see how stable you can become. Thank you for your attention. And if you like this, let me know. Yeah, I love it. All right, take care. Cheers. Bye.